So, as I start off the class, boost your health, wealth, and happiness at the same time, I want to introduce myself and thank you for coming from all of these different places: Orange County, Comox Valley, Cumberland, Florida. So fun. I started my journey in coaching and started my business in 2012. And I noticed that it was really bothersome to me that people who were great at their work s- just started to feel burnt out and started to feel stretched thin and weren't as happy as they used to be, and doing work that usually brought them joy started making them feel like they had no balance and time for themselves, and they didn't get to feel connected to their family anymore, and it became more of a struggle. So one of the desires of my heart back then was to be able to equip community leaders and physicians and senior level healthcare providers and um, business owners and leaders, to equip those types of people, those high achievers and people who are so driven and so caring, with practical tools and mindset shifts to be able to move from reactive to responsive, and from stretched thin to, and maybe frazzled sometimes, to feeling calm, even if they were balancing a ton. So I started noticing that I actually needed to use these tools on myself. Who'd have thunk it? And I needed to practice what I was preaching, because I started feeling like I couldn't handle it all. And I felt like everything had to be perfect and had to happen quickly. Otherwise, I wasn't going to be a success. And I felt like I didn't have time to take care of my house the way I wanted to and to spend with my family. And I started making myself available 24/7 to clients. And you can imagine what that made my family feel like second class, second best, right? Almost like I was married to my work. Raise your hand if that point just hit home for you. So I love my family dearly, and I thought something has to change. I need to figure out how to take my business, make it thrive, and at the same time, open up time in my schedule so that I have more time for myself, so that I feel really joyful, so that I protect my own peace of mind, and so that I am an example for my clients and an inspiration. So walking my talk and living in alignment with what I teach is super important to me. And I am not perfect, but I do my best. So, why I'm showing up tonight for you is because there are a few mistakes I see the people that I work with make consistently. And when we are walking our own path by ourselves, people who are high achievers and high functioning sometimes don't even know that they're making these mistakes. So I want to share with you what those are so that you can experience more balance and more joy and way less stress. Because we know when stress increases, our functioning decreases, right? So maybe rate yourself. I'd love to see on a scale of 1 to 10 what you feel your stress level is right now. Because a lot of people think they're not stressed when actually they are dealing with way more stress than the usual person. And they're just really good at ignoring it, or they're really truthfully don't realize how stressed they are because they're not paying attention to the symptoms in their body or the symptoms at work or the symptoms in their relationships. So 10 is I'm like over the top, usually filled with a fair amount of anxiety or stress, emotional, relational, work related. And 0 is I feel like there's no stress in my life and I'm always peaceful. Maybe you can rate yourself in the chat. Okay. 8, 6, 6. Okay. So I want to cover those mistakes. And I also want to share with you some very effective mindset strategies for reframing how you're thinking about things to bring in more calmness, bring in more confidence, and help you move forward with more ease so that you're not waiting for your dreams to happen or your life to change, but you're starting to intentionally step into creative mode and make it happen today. Super exciting because you have the power to do that. And then I'll cover some practical strategies to help you become aware of where you're not setting a boundary that would be very helpful, and maybe where your boundaries are too firm and too rigid, and that's not helping you. And I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean as soon as I let my dog in. So let me let my dog in. He loves to be with me when I'm teaching. Little Boston Terrier. So as I teach, please share your questions and I'll do my best to answer them at the end of the call, okay? And at the end of the call, I also have something to share with you if you would like more support from me. Maybe you'd like to be mentored by me in a group or coached privately by me. I have options coming up and I'd love to share them with you. So let's jump in and look at some of these mistakes that I see people making, okay? My notes. So the top, if you're taking notes, number one, the first mistake I see people making often is they stay so busy taking care of everyone else's needs, everyone else's priorities, just because it becomes second habit and you're good at it, you're highly capable, that you start becoming disconnected with your own needs. And the noise is so loud because you're so used to giving out your energy that it's hard for you to feel what you're feeling. And it's hard for you to hear what you need and what you're lacking right now and what the problem really is, if there's a problem, or the reason for you being feeling like you're stuck and feeling like it's hard to create that next level of like that 2.0 version of you. And you're not sure, like, oh, you just want to smash the glass ceiling, but every time you try and change the habit, it feels really frustrating. Well, if you stay busy, then you don't actually need to look at where the change needs to take place. And you don't need to feel, it can be this interesting benefit that busyness gives you. You don't have to get uncomfortable. You don't have to face what you fear. And you don't have to get, do things. Yeah, you don't have to do things that scare you. So that's the number one mistake I see people making is they just stay so busy that they don't have to listen. They don't have to pay attention to what needs to change. But really, my friend, that is keeping you in a constant state of discomfort. And I'm more of, let me help you rip the band-aid off type of person. I'm this combination of warm and challenge. Let me turn that off. So you want warm and you want to be challenged. Maybe you want a bit of a kick in the pants. You are so in the right place because I'm that perfect combo. So second mistake is people have very high expectations and unrealistic expectations of their own capabilities. And so they don't honor their limits because they're so used to giving too much and not enough to themselves that they start thinking, oh, I don't have time for myself. There's not enough time. or I can't carve out time for that creative project that's always on my mind and my heart's always feeling called there. But I don't matter. Like, I don't matter as much as other people. And plus, I need to be reliable. People are counting on me. Who did that hit home for? I need to be reliable. People are counting on me. So, this is mistake number two, having unrealistic expectations. Yeah, you, Heidi. Awesome. I'm glad. Not glad that that's how you're feeling, but uh, glad that it hit home. So, when you have unrealistic expectations of your own capabilities, then you don't even know where to draw the line, right? You don't know where to set the boundary. And then if you don't know where to set the boundary, you can't communicate it. So this is what tonight's about, is getting clear on what do I need, slowing down enough to listen to your needs, to start changing your thinking around, is that okay? Isn't that selfish? We're going to be looking at some mindset problems and then how to overcome them. But let's get back to point number three, because obviously I'm excited about this topic. I love it, and I could talk forever about it, but I will rein in my energy for you. So, number three, the mistake that I see people making often is they wait for perfect timing before they start. And they really don't want to make mistakes. They don't want to look stupid. They don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing. They don't want to fail. So if you just wait for perfect timing, then you never have to feel insecure. You never have to be afraid of what other people might think of you because you're in your nice, safe bubble. But your nice, safe bubble is really unfulfilling. Anyone else? I have been there where at a certain point in my life, I'm like, enough is enough. I need more. I want more. I need more. And I'm done waiting. So something needs to change. Mistake number three, waiting for perfect timing. It doesn't arrive. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it will never arrive. And trying to get all of your ducks in a row right now is holding you back from joy, is holding you back from creating new habits and new results and feeling more peace of mind, like on a constant basis. And I'm not saying that I never feel stressed. I need to work through emotional stress that comes from family stuff. But I can't do that if I'm too busy. If I'm pretending that I'm not bothered by it, then I would never work through my feelings. So we need to feel the feelings in order to realize what we need to prioritize and what boundaries we need to set and how we need to communicate them. And then behind all of that process, we need to understand that we create through our thoughts. And it's not some wishy-washy magic, even though I think it's quite magical that we create our reality with our thoughts. It's scientifically based. What we think creates our outer reality. Just do a simple Google search and you will see it's scientifically backed up. So, recap on those three mistakes. Who wants to put mistake number one in the chat? I'm going to have a look. Mistake number one. Ooh, I love the yeses and woohoos. Oh, Heidi, I'm glad that this is really hitting home. Yes, Yanni, number one is stop being busy. And okay, who's got number two? You know I'm getting you to be interactive. Come on. Thank you for joining. This helps you cement in the learning. What's number two? Unrealistic expectations. Thanks, Paris. Unrealistic expectations. How about number three? We don't want to wait for what before we get started, or you'll never start. You never see a change. Yes, waiting for perfect timing. Thanks, Christy. So You can see how these mistakes are really problematic, right? They stall our progress, they stop us from feeling happy, they stop us from developing depth in our relationships. Yanni says, my warm and safe bubble is getting too small. I was thinking about Yanni today and thinking about many people that I'm working with currently. And it's the process that I'm in with you right now is called expansion. And it is a beautiful, uncomfortable, and exciting experience. We need to take up more space and grow our comfort bubble so that what we desire, the life that we desire, we allow in and we give permission now to be inside our comfort zone. Whereas before it was outside our comfort zone, tonight you're going to start bringing things in that make you uncomfortable and start kind of like warming up with them. Like if I was there rubbing your shoulder right now and I used to make you really uncomfortable. Maybe like speaking up or setting a boundary. Now you're like, "Hey, I think I like you." So let's step into some of the mindset work to help you reframe some of the old ways you may have been thinking that may hold you back from experiencing more of that balance between income generation, work priorities and responsibilities with home duties, home responsibilities, family, keeping in touch with people, and then, oh, yeah, there's yourself. And you matter so much because if you don't take care of you and you run into a health scare or your family needs you and you're not available because you're sick or you've had a stroke or you have the flu again or you're whatever, get my point. We need to take care of ourselves because our family depends on us. And we want to be role models for them. And we want to be role models in our community. Come on, let's be a shining example so that the teams that you lead and the families that you devote your time to and the patients and the customers and the clients, they can see what's possible because you were willing to get uncomfortable and do the dirty work that you were afraid of because you changed your mindset and you got some new tools with Amy. So let's look at some mindset shifts that you can make tonight. First one I want to share with you is some questions to ask yourself. So I want you to, we're going to do an inventory and I'm going to ask you some questions. I want you to write a short list of maybe the top 3 things that I, as in you, have been handling or putting up with. You might have 2 lists. One's family or personal, and one's work. What have I been saying? Oh, I can handle that, or I can tolerate that, but you shouldn't. It's actually not okay with you, but you haven't been doing anything about it. I want you to write down, maybe just in one of the lists because of the time we have tonight. Write down in one on one, either family or personal or professional, 3 things that you have been handling or putting up with or tolerating that actually are not healthy for you. They're causing some anxiety or they're making you feel resentful or bitter. Reading your comment, Heidi. Yeah, that's great. We don't have to do things. And sometimes we think we have no choice. I had a great conversation with Paris about this, right? We always have a choice. We have the power to change. Really important point to remember. So, does anyone want to share something that you've been tolerating or putting up with that's actually not good for your health and is decreasing your happiness? Yeah, you're welcome, Paris. Who'd like to share? What's one thing you've been tolerating that, look at my lipstick, that you is not, is like hurting, like pressing on your emotions? Not feeling psychologically safe at work. Yeah, that's a big one. Yes, Heidi's is um, rubbing her husband's back. Don't worry, he's not going to see this. Trying to run two businesses at the same time. Yeah, that's a lot of work. Hmm. So when we get clear about what's not okay with us, then we can change it. So it's good to look at problems because problems hold the seed of solution. Usually, your solution is found right in the middle of your problem if you're willing to allow yourself to just look at the problem and take a deeper dive into it. There's opportunity for solution right in the problem, which is why it's so important why that we slow down, we make time for this, we have a good look at it, and then we can do something about it. So here's the second question to ask you in the inventory, ask yourself in the inventory. And that's what have I not been speaking up about and just hoping or waiting for change, waiting for things to get better, hoping people will read my mind. Please feel free to put it in the chat. What's something I haven't been speaking up about? You haven't. Time management. You haven't been speaking up about time management? Tell me a bit more. Or what have you been hoping people will read your mind about and you think they should know already, but you haven't been speaking up about your needs or your limits? Mm, right. So Heidi says she hasn't been speaking up about time management. So likely, I think what you mean is whether it's with clients or at home, you haven't been letting them know what works for you and what doesn't, and when work will end and when it will start, and all that stuff. Here's a third question to ask yourself. And am I moving too fast? Put a yes in the chat if I'm moving too fast and you want a chance to share. Learning to speak up and take up time and space to do my work. Okay, so something that might help you, Yanni, and anyone else who is in a relationship. Uh, this covers all of us because whether you're in a romantic relationship or at work, you're in relationships. We're all in relationship. One thing that helped me with my husband was um, the belief that we can both be happy and there's a win-win situation or solution, and there can be a way for both of us to be happy. And my happiness matters too. I'm just as important. I'm an equal and I'm just as valuable. My opinions matter. Heidi, you feel like I'm your best friend that knows all my secrets, and now I'm telling my business on Zoom. Ah, all right. So, what will I no longer settle for? Maybe it's you'll no longer settle for only 10 minutes to yourself every day. Or maybe it's you'll no longer settle for um, lack of communication at work. Maybe you'll no longer settle for being vague with your coworkers or your team or your spouse. What will you no longer settle for? This is the third question as we take inventory. So if you ask yourself these questions and you're honest with yourself, you start expanding your capacity to receive. So here's a very this is like a fill in the blank exercise. It's fun. And it has everything to do with boundary setting. Now, when I teach my clients boundaries, I go way more in depth in this topic. It's one of my most passionate topics. But for tonight, I'm going to give you this one exercise. I want you to write down this with a fill in the blank, kind of like Hangman. So, what I'm allowing in my life that's hurting me is blank. What I'm allowing in my life that's hurting me is blank. We're not going to write that. We're not going to fill it in right now. And the second line underneath that is what I'm keeping out of my life that could help me is blank. What I'm keeping out of my life that could help me is blank. So, this is another way around getting to the same solution, which is clarity, giving you clarity on where are my boundaries too firm and I'm not letting good things in, and where are my boundaries too loose and I'm allowing things to happen and people to treat me in certain ways, and I'm allowing myself to have a really loose work schedule. And that means that I don't have time for me anymore, or I'm not pursuing my art or writing, or I'm not making time for exercise. So fill in the blank with something that comes to mind for you. So that first one, that first fill in the blank, can't remember which I started with. What am I keeping out? I think it was what am I letting in that could hurt me? So if you're letting people speak about you or towards you in ways that don't make you feel good and yet you don't say anything, that would be a boundary that's too loose. So you're letting people talk about you in ways that are hurtful. I'm going to share with you something very personal. My dad and I are going through challenges right now, and it's really uncomfortable. And that's some of the stress I've been working through. Thankfully, I have good tools for working through it. I woke up 2 nights ago in the middle of the night, and my husband said, I said very clearly, he thought I was talking to him, when you speak with me, it's or something like, it's when you speak with me like that, it's so unfair. Or I don't like it and you need to stop. Something like that. So I'm setting boundaries in my sleep. Let's see the comments again. What was it again? What am I allowing in my life that's hurting me, Yanni? That's hurting me. So, what am I allowing in that's hurting me? That would be an example of a loose boundary. Thanks, Heidi. And yeah, Heidi, I don't work outside of the home either. So I'm the one in control of my work hours. No, I don't report to anyone aside from, the appointments I have with private clients, group work, and other appointments. But I need to set it for myself, right? I think that's what you might be referring to. And then the other one is, what am I keeping out of my life that would be helpful for me or could be helpful for me? Let me give you an example. I was working with a midwife, and she didn't want to tell the other midwives that she was working with that she didn't have experience with one of the procedures and needed to sharpen her saw again, because she didn't want to look stupid. She didn't want to be judged. She didn't want to be seen as less valuable, all that stuff. And because her brain was trying to keep her safe, like, don't speak up, don't let them know that you feel a little bit insecure right now and you'd like some help, you'd like some feedback. Because she didn't speak up and her boundary was too firm, unhealthily too firm. She couldn't let help in. She couldn't grow professionally. She couldn't get support. And interestingly enough, part of the reason her boundary was too firm is because of a belief that we found out when we did some digging in a private session, which was, I'm not worthy of support. Ouch. And yet, you all know, intellectually and rationally speaking, of course you're equally worthy of support. You know, you help your children, you help your spouse, you help your colleagues, you help your coworkers, you help your team. Of course, you're just as worthy of support. But she had to let that belief in her mind sink down into her heart until she really believed it before she was ready to be open and vulnerable with her colleagues and ask for support. So Heidi says, I should be able to control the narrative, and I don't. What narrative do you want to control, Heidi? Feel like being more open? So I'm going to open up for Q&A pretty soon, but I have been really feeling like the classes that I offer are pretty deep. They touch on a lot of deep topics and also on mindset patterns that need reprogramming, on habits that have been so ingrained because of your family or your social, the culture you grew up in, or just, what society says you need to be and how you need to live in order for you to be a success, that we need to untie those habits, almost like ropes that are holding your hot air balloon down to the ground so you can only reach whatever 50 feet, and you want to soar above the trees and above the mountains, and you want to keep growing and experiencing new levels of happiness and success, new levels of health and connection with your loved ones. But these freaking ropes are tying you to the ground. That's what we start doing when you learn strategies to change your habits and you start thinking in new ways about what success means to you now, instead of allowing other people to define success for you. Okay, Christy says they feel elusive for her. So let's talk about some options that might fill these blanks. Let's talk about loose boundaries, what you're allowing in your life that's not okay with you. So you may be allowing. I know Christy personally. So um, you may be allowing other people to come over whenever they want and not clearly communicate with them what your boundaries are around, literally around your physical property, and when you want visitors. So that could be what I'm allowing in my life that's hurting me is, yeah, okay, Christy, that's a good example for you. And then maybe an example of a boundary that's too firm is um, likely around speaking up for you. I would say that, yeah, so the fill in the blank was something that I'm keeping out of my life. Hmm. I think maybe feedback. You're a really open person, but sometimes we can keep feedback out of our lives because we don't want to be judged. And so we don't have as open of conversations as we'd like. And we don't explore with people who we feel a bit intimidated or really intimidated by, because we don't want to have our fears confirmed. See, I really don't measure up. See, I really am not enough. See, I really am whatever it is that you've been telling yourself you don't want other people to find out about you, is sometimes why we have a boundary that's too firm. stops us from communicating and getting feedback to help us grow. Hopefully that helped. And I may not have hit the bullseye with that one, but just an idea. Okay, so now I'm opening it up for Q&A before I go into letting you know about my program coming up in May and letting you know about private coaching opportunities I have right now. So let me know what questions you have and how this is starting to maybe something that's been really valuable for you when it comes to practical ways for I have more to give you, practical or insightful ways to start changing how you think about what's possible. Or yeah, let me know what's been most valuable for you and how you think that this will help, or if you have a question, and then I'll give you some bonus material, some more strategies, more practical strategies that you can apply. Christy says people usually think that I'm an open book because I'm often more vulnerable than many, but really I'm just showing the parts I'm comfortable with and only the first couple chapters of my book. Right. Hmm. Great point. So maybe you are learning about, you know, who do I share with? When do I share? When is it appropriate timing? How much? Yanni, no, one, what's hurting me? Letting my own doubts stop me from starting. Great example. What could help me? Asking for help and going for it with confidence. Awesome. Two great examples, Yanni. Thanks for sharing. So let me, please, if you're typing some feedback that you're giving me and sharing with the group as a value and a gem that you've gotten tonight, thank you so much. Please do share in the chat. It really means a lot to me. And while you do, I'm going to share another practical strategy, two of them, to help you create more balance, more joy, more time for yourself. And you don't have to sacrifice your professional success. The two can grow in tandem. Something that I believe with all my heart, I've seen proven in my own life and in my clients' lives. I'm glad, Heidi. I'm glad that you have a lot to think about. Hopefully not too much. So number one, bonus practical strategy is I want you to write this on your mirror or put it in your wallet. If you find it hard to make more time for exercise or rest and really enjoy the rest and be present, for two examples there, making yourself a priority, or you're writing, whatever it is, write down all or something. So instead of in order for me to feel healthy, I'm going to have to work out an hour a day. And it's just like not possible for you. And then you beat yourself up because you didn't achieve your goal because of your unrealistic expectations. And so because you've got big projects coming up and it's not the perfect timing to start the habit, you don't start. Instead of all or nothing, I want you to start thinking in all or something mentality. That's your new mode, okay? All or something. When you see it on the mirror or you read it on a sticky note in your wallet, so every time you open your wallet or you put it as a reminder on your phone and it says all or something, then you can go, okay, what would be the easy way for me to do just a little bit of that and just move today, move my body? What would be an easy way for me to talk about that uncomfortable topic? But, I don't have to fling the door open and say it all. I can just do all or something to practice getting out of my comfort zone in that way. And the second bonus practical strategy is to create anchors for your day. Now, I don't know if all of you know, but I when my husband Beecham and I got married, we moved onto a sailboat. And the first one was for the Great Lakes in Canada, made for the Great Lakes. And so it was a little bit cold, but it was nice and spacious. And then we moved on to a sailboat, and, really good for our relationship because you had to deal with problems or you just walked the dock. You had to stay in the same space. Anyways, my story comes back to the point that both boats had anchors. And if you don't have anchors for your life, then you are going to feel like a wave on the ocean, or one of the boats that I lived in, tossed around and feeling like you have no choice but for your external environment to determine how you feel on any given day, or for your external environment, people on the outside of your life, to determine how good you feel about yourself or what you think is possible. It's much more of a fun and powerful way to live if you have anchors that keep you calm and grounded, that sustain your joy even during valley times of life, when times are dark. I've been through those. Anyone else in one right now or been through one recently? We need these anchors. And so, some examples for anchors. Oh, let me see here. Okay, creating anchors. Yes. So, examples of anchors could be, yeah, Yanni, meditation, sports, dog. Yeah, it's really unique for all of us. And yeah, a dog is a good anchor. You want a dog, Christy? So for me, my getting up and spending time with God is a really important anchor in my life. And that's different every day. So it might be like dancing or singing or like praying on the beach or writing, talking and listening and writing. Another anchor could be just some sort of daily exercise. So you could think of anchors in a couple different ways. I have different anchors. I have anchors, spiritual anchors, physical anchors, and I have some relational anchors, emotional anchors. So some can overlap. The emotion and the spiritual can overlap really easily. And it's fun when you habit stack, because I can get some of my anchors, like being in nature, can meet my spiritual needs because I can have a conversation with God in the forest. And I'm also getting exercise. So win, 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 habit stacking all the way. So we never really have an excuse that we don't have time. Anchors are something for you to prioritize above everything else in your day. Practice throwing the weight of your energy every day onto yourself and ask yourself, what do I need? Check in with yourself. Just simply practice that one habit. What do I need? What do my anchors need to be today? And even though I have a really busy schedule, where is there an opportunity for me to fit that in? Start training your brain, the reticular activating system here, that it's possible to fit me in, and you'll start believing it. Yeah, check in with yourself. Because usually we just are externally focused with so much of our energy that we forget us. Oh, yeah, I guess I better sustain this being. Love it, Christy. Nature, camping, unplugging, puzzles. Yeah. What makes you zone out? That is a really good, hopefully, that gives you some good ideas of what an anchor could be for you. One of the things I want to reintegrate into my life, but it won't necessarily be an anchor, is I want to bring in watercolor painting again. Love it. Dance is something that is really wonderful for me. So those are your two bonus tools is the all or something mentality or all or something thinking so that you have no excuse. You can do a little bit. And that's a great way to start a habit. It doesn't have to be long, it just has to be meaningful and hit the spot. And then developing those anchors. What's a spiritual, a physical, an emotional anchor that you can use to help you sustain your joy, sustain your energy, and sustain your calmness so that you are showing up and you're changing the environment of the room, and the environment of the room isn't changing you. Beautiful. You're welcome, Christy. Yanni. Yum. I know it's delicious. So thanks for showing up, Christy. And now, for those of you who are interested, I'm going to share a bit about the program coming up in May. And for those of you who need to leave right now, no hard feelings. Thank you for joining, and I'm glad you got value. This will be accessible by replay as well. If you'd like to hear about the program and you just can't stay right now, that's fine. So when I'm working with private clients and with group clients, I'm often teaching on these main categories with these prioritizing these main focus points when I'm working deeply in someone's life. In this group opportunity, what's really cool is you'll have access to videos and audio classes and printouts like downloads and worksheets to use whenever you want. And you'll get access to me and the community for 6 weeks. So we meet weekly and we're starting early May, I think the first week of May. So let me share with you what our topics will be. The first one will be on developing a more calm and optimistic mindset. And we didn't go deep into that tonight, but we're going to basically I'm going to show you the steps for how to start mastering your thoughts instead of being their servant. This is life changing. It changed my life, it changes my clients' lives, and it'll change yours. So when you master your thoughts and you start to notice you have the power and the ability to change your reality with your thoughts, you start feeling so much more grounded. You have so much more peace of mind. Others' opinions of you don't matter as much. You start taking bigger, more satisfying and fulfilling risks in life and doing things that you thought you had to put off until sometime later. So I'll help you start focusing on the easy solution instead of what's hard or you think can't be done right now, and help you see that it can happen much more quickly than you've been telling yourself. And then we'll focus on boundary setting. So I'll give you strategies and very helpful tools to help you understand where you need to let the good in and where you need to set a boundary to keep the hurtful or unhealthy things out in your relationships, in your personal life, at work. All of these tools are across the board applicable. So a little bit more about boundaries. What I find they help me do, and what I know they'll help you do, is recalibrate. So it's like a spiritual chiropractic adjustment. When we have healthy boundaries, we're protecting what's important to us. We're protecting our time. We're protecting our energy and our peace of mind and our joy. We're protecting our relationships so that we have time for the people who we really love. And we learn how to disappoint others. And that might sound a bit harsh, but if you're not disappointing some people in your lives sometimes, then you're the one who's always being disappointed and you're letting yourself down. And that feels really crummy. So boundaries help you prioritize yourself so that you can share your gifts with the world and help more people, and you can be reliable and you're not over committing to other people, and then you're never reliable because you can't follow through Boundaries will help with that too. You don't need to operate at breakneck speed to be amazing. You can have boundaries around your work hours and still be loved by the people that you serve and still do a great job at work. So I want to help you move from reacting to responding. And sometimes when we haven't set boundaries for a long time, or maybe you've never learned how and you feel like, really want help in that area, then you can be a communicator that keeps everything in, and then you're like Miss Really Nice Person, and or you then you explode. So you don't talk about things, or you explode. Like you're volcanic, or you're like a placid lake, but really underneath you're like, can they not see the dishes on the counter? Do I have to communicate this? So boundaries helps you become a more confident communicator as well. So let's Heidi, awesome, love it. Yes, go get your back rubbed. You deserve it. Let's talk about the communication strategies. This is the third category I'm going to cover in my program, which is called Recalibrate. So, the communication strategies will help you develop more patience and wisdom to know when to communicate what and in the best way. So, when, what, and the how of it, I'm going to teach you. I'm really good at giving you examples of this is one of my areas of expertise, giving you communication strategies that you can use at home and that you can use at work to talk about difficult things, have difficult conversations with much more ease, even though it's still uncomfortable and sometimes really scary. You'll be equipped with a way that feels like you're being authentic, you're honoring yourself, you're honoring your boundaries, and you're saying it in a way that's caring, but it's also direct and clear. That is an art and a science, and I'd love to help you with that. And we will be in this program. So, the last area that I'm going to cover, the last topic in the program that I want to teach you is how to prioritize your own health and happiness. So whether it's improving your sleep routine or whether it's taking care of like your beauty and your own need for self-expression or making time for your health so that you can feel vibrant and you feel like, oh my goodness, I have so much free time now that I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Well, we can make really great plans for you to focus on things that you thought you'd never have time for until you retired with the time that we free up as we work together. So remember that as I close here, remember that you have an opportunity to achieve things that you thought were impossible, daunting and impossible, and you can achieve them faster than you thought possible. I want to help you dream again. I want to help you make time for yourself. And I want to help you live in alignment with your values so that you can be the role model that you want to be for your family and that you can be the role model you want to be for your community because people are watching you. Even though we don't like to know that sometimes, people pick up things from how you live your life and they need an inspiration. They need to see that what they want in their professional and personal lives is possible, and you could be that example. So you can go about and you can continue over giving and over committing and not prioritizing yourself, or you cannot wait for perfect timing and you cannot wait for someday because someday never comes, right? It's time to get creative. And if you want to get creative and you want to have fun and you want to achieve these goals that I've been describing, I'm going to be focused on in the program, then I invite you to schedule a 20, 30-minute conversation with me where we can talk about more of what I'm covering and see if it's the right program for you. So I have doors open for enrollment for that program, and I would love to speak with you and hear more about your story and what you're looking to create. So I'm going to share with you my email. Many of you already have it, but just in case you don't and you want to book one of these appointments with me, it's coacha@amyengelmark.com. And it would be a pleasure and an honor to work with you. So I open up space in this program to about 10 people. I really like that size of community. If you want to have one of those spots, I highly recommend you speak with me soon. And if it feels like the right fit, that we make sure you get one of those spots. You are welcome, Yanni. Take care and have a good dinner. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It was really fun and great that you showed up and made time for yourself. You're welcome, Heidi. Thanks for joining. You're welcome, Paris. Have a great night, everyone.